This week on Craft Beer Comics, Firestorm is back in a blaze of chaos, attitude, and atomic level problems. So naturally we've matched that with a sour beer packed with sharp fruit, wild funk, and a serious punch. Welcome to Craft Beer Comics. Welcome, craft beer crusaders and comic book brewers, to another episode of Craft Beer Comics, where we take a look at comics new and old and pair them with a delicious craft beer. I am your host Harry, and today we are going to be looking at The Fury of Firestorm, Issue 1. So this comic is by Jeff Lemire and Rafael de Latorre, and it is the first Firestorm comic we have had in probably about 10 years, to be honest. Now, I'm a big Firestorm fan, and when I saw this come up in the solicitations, I was extremely excited. Because he's one of those characters that's sort of like a D-list DC character, doesn't get his own comic lines a lot of the time, and he just sort of pops up in the background of Justice League comics, or sort of as a side character in other D-list comic books. So the fact that he's gotten his own one is quite nice. I'm very happy with it, and it's part of DC's Next Level initiative, which includes, obviously, Firestorm, and then it includes Barbara Gordon, I believe Deathstroke's there, Legion of Superheroes are coming back, a lot of sort of probably B through D list heroes and villains are getting their own comic books, which is great. It's a great little thing DC are doing. So I guess we'll just get straight into it. Just a little disclaimer before we go forwards. These are all my own thoughts and feelings. They are not facts, they are not figures, they are my own personal opinions. If you disagree with them, that's absolutely fine. Feel free to leave your thoughts and feelings in the comments below. So we'll take a little look at the description for this issue. The Nuclear Man goes next level with Jeff Lemire and Rafael de Latorre. The community of Bedford, Colorado is a sleepy small town. The people say hello to their neighbours, attend town hall meetings, and root for the local high school football team on Friday nights. But this idyllic small town is thrown upside down when a nuclear man arrives and starts experimenting. Firestorm has turned buildings to sand and people to glass with no remorse and no warning. But what exactly provoked Ronnie Raymond to commit this heinous act, and can anyone contain the fury that is Firestorm? Great little promotional paragraph there. There's a bit where it says the nuclear man starts experimenting. Sounds a little bit dodgy. But obviously they pull it back by explaining that it's the buildings and the people and not Firestorm's own experiences, I guess. So yeah, let's just get straight into it. There's a couple of variant covers. I think Firestorm's one of those characters which has loads of potential artistically. So, the potential is just kind of there for the taking. And the artists who have done the covers have certainly gone all out on it, which is great. So let's get straight into it. Issue 1 opens with, you see Firestorm arriving in a sort of like a typical small American town. You get sort of like a day 1, day 2, day 3, all the way through to day 7 sort of thing, where you can see Firestorm slowly mixing shit up a little bit and turning people to glass, buildings to sand, much like in the description. They kind of hit it on the head. It's obviously a nice little biblical reference because on day 7 he rested. And then you cut to the government recruiting what seems to be a mystery woman, or it was to me at least. I love Firestorm, but I'm not so up to date on it that I can recognise characters out of costume, and when it's been like 10 years since I've last seen them. But this mystery woman, who seems to be quite connected to Firestorm, turns out to be Firehawk. So they're keeping with some of the Firestorm lore there, which is really nice. Sometimes you tend to see that they reboot a series and the pre-existing lore isn't really touched upon. They don't really bring in old characters. It's completely fresh. So I am glad to see they are bringing in some of the old stuff as well, and I hope they bring some new stuff too. But there's a few, as you go through the comic, there's a few scenes of the art style shifts, and we're in sort of like this strange dream world with Ronnie and Maryensztadt there, and they're fighting a bad guy, and it's very WandaVision. And when Ronnie starts to pick up that things might be a bit off, might be a bit strange, the whole sort of dream restarts again. But that only happens a few times until he kind of breaks out of it, and he's stood in this strange forest, and Ronnie Raymond's looking up, he's checking out his surroundings, and then he turns around and there's a firestorm with no face hovering over him, which is pretty spooky. We cut back to the town, and it seems like Firestorm's kind of dormant, and then they drop the bombshell of Maryensztadt's clearly not there. It's clearly Ronnie Raymond, but who's in there with Ronnie Raymond, we don't know. Final page, you cut to what's presumably Maryensztadt, the second half of Firestorm, throwing some files into a fireplace, one of which is clearly from Project Firestorm, as that's what it's labelled, and written on it is it sentient? Which is a nice little thing I don't think we've touched on with Firestorm before. I might be wrong, but it's never been proposed that the actual Firestorm matrix is sentient. So just a little background on Firestorm for those of you who aren't familiar. Firestorm is a unique DC Comics superhero comprised of two minds and bodies that fuse together using something called the Firestorm Matrix, which has been created by Professor Maryensztadt. Their abilities include energy projection, flight, and the big thing is atomic transmutation, meaning that they can change the atomic structure of loads of different things. So you can turn people into glass, buildings into sand, oxygen into mustard gas. The potentials are kind of endless, which is great. Firestorm was also in the Legends of Tomorrow TV series, so you might have seen him in that. Other than that, he's not a particularly huge character. He kind of tends, like I said, tends to show up in the background of other things. So overall, this issue isn't huge. It was only $4.99, which is about the same in the UK. So that'd be £4.99. It's not the shortest issue I've ever read, but there's a lot of really, really, really fantastic art, but not a lot of text. But I feel like this might be one of those books where the story is going to be told through the art more than the text. Although saying that, the first few pages are very kind of text heavy, with the whole days 1 through 7. But I feel like that was just a lot of setting up, and you kind of need that. You need a nice balance of lots of text and art. The script, storytelling, it's all fantastic, to be honest. It's a really, really strong start for Firestorm. There are some nice twists, there's some nice changes, there's a lot of mystery that's been set up. Where's Firestorm come from on day 1? Who's inside with Ronnie Raymond? Why has he chosen this town? Why is he carrying out these actions? Then there's, where is Maryensztadt? Why is he just in some random, shack in the middle of nowhere, burning files about Project Firestorm? And then the big one, is the Firestorm Matrix sentient? That's a massive question. And I feel like that's probably where the next 6 to 12 issues are going to be heading towards and exploring. It's good. It's a really, really, really good start. Personally, I don't tend to pick up single issues. I do tend to go for the volumes. However, there are certain exceptions I'll make to that, such as Firestorm. So if you're in your local comic book shop, you see Fury of Firestorm issue 1, and you think, yeah, I'll give that a go. Go for it. Absolutely go for it. I would give that a solid... I'll give it a solid 7 out of 10. It was very good. I'm intrigued. I will be picking up the volume. The art by Latorre is great. Jeff Lemire, he's a great writer. He's always done great stuff. I mean, he's doing Absolute Flash at the moment. He's done Hawkeye before, Superboy, Green Arrow, things of Justice League Dark for a while. All great comics, all really good in their own right. He's a pretty top-notch writer. So it's very nice that he's taken on Firestorm. So yeah, I pick it up. Solid 7 out of 10. Didn't quite get the other 3 points, just because there wasn't anything mind-blowing, I guess. There's a lot of setup, which is great, and I'm sure it'll pay off, and I'm sure that later down the line, this might go up to an 8, 9, maybe a 10 out of 10. But right now, it's a lot of setup. It's issue 1. That's kind of expected. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. So, let's move on to the second half of this podcast, the beer. Now, with this one, I wanted something that's familiar, something that takes you back. It's been a while since we've had Firestorm, so I'm thinking along these lines of something that takes you back, reminds you of the good old days when we had Firestorm before. And I wanted something that's punchy, something that's kind of aggressive but fun, much like Firestorm itself. So I have found from, I'm going to butcher this name, Maryensztadt Craft Brewery. You know what? I'm going to get Google Translate to say it for me now.
Maryensztadt Craft Brewery.
Nailed it. But this is a smoothie beer. And the flavour? Summer Crumble, which includes raspberry, banana, pear and vanilla. Now this is a sour beer, 4.2%, and it is phenomenal. It's sweet, it's a little bit tart, it hits the back of your tongue, but it's not like it's not overwhelming. There are some sour beers where you taste them and you sort of go, oh, that's a lot. I don't really have any more of that, thank you. But this one, it is delightful. I had this a little while back at Craft Brew Festival, which is at the moment a UK-based craft beer festival, and it was a highlight, to be honest. It was a massive highlight, and I would recommend to pretty much anyone, to be honest, even if sour beers aren't your thing. Like I said, this isn't so sour that it's going to knock your socks off. But it's like having a summer crumble. I know it sounds ridiculous because that's the name of it, but there's no other better way to describe it than it is what it says. It's fantastic. It's really, really delicious. This is a Polish craft beer, actually, which is something that a friend of the show and a friend of my other show, guy called Cam, who runs Beer Guide Worldwide, and he's also a major driving force behind Craft Brew Festival. He has sort of started this new business called Polish Craft Beers, which is bringing, believe it or not, the Polish craft beers over from Poland to the UK and sort of getting them out there a bit more. Because they've got a really, really fantastic craft beer scene, but unfortunately at the moment, it's not really spreading as far as I can understand. And Polish Craft Beers is helping spread it. And yeah, this is one of hopefully many that I will have from them. But yeah, Summer Crumble, smoothie beer, top notch. Allergens for this one, milk, cereals, and cereals that contain gluten. That's the only allergens. So pretty top notch. So that's that. This is actually episode 1 that I'm recording, which is probably why it sounds a little bit janky because I'm not so used to talking to myself. But if you liked it, let me know. If you didn't like it, let me know. I'm probably not going to stop. But if there's little pointers, things you want to know about the beers a bit more, maybe things you want me to go into more about the comics themselves, let me know down in the comments. This will be going out on all good podcast platforms as well as YouTube probably. Yeah, Firestorm issue 1, 7 out of 10. Smoothie beer, Summer Crumble, that's a 10 out of 10. That's it for this episode of Craft Beer Comics, where the panels are bold and the beers are cold. Thanks for hanging out with me while we talked about comics and cracked open another great craft brew. If you enjoyed this show, please subscribe, leave a review, leave a comment, share it with your fellow comic book lovers and beer nerds. Keep reading, keep sipping, and I'll catch you on the next episode.